What's going on, everybody? Football's back, and you know what that means. We're going to have this time, for the third time in a row, we're going to reboot the series. We're going to reboot the season, and we're going to start here. We're going to finally give you every single week of college football. And as a bonus, because I'm such a mood this year, because I've been just waiting for this game to get started, we're going to do the NFL too. Anyway, my name is Eric. Followed to my this side. That is no.
Nope, you had it right the other time.
Well,
Remember, it's
on my
flipped.
screen, this is mine, so it matters for me. But that's Noah.
It's me.
I'm Eric. Guys, we're going to
Hello.
be doing this. We're going to go through all your guys' college football games coming up this weekend for week 0. And then for here on out, every week, we're going to give you the new, just kind of go through of the standings of the great games that are going on and all the other college football news that's going. So I say,
I say we get to it.
let's do it. So why don't we start with this conference drama that's going on during the offseason. We kind of saw this happening for a long time, ever since the NCAA has kind of taken a shit and decided to hate college football. So the conferences are finally starting to blow up too. The Pac-12 is going to be gone starting next year, with every single team besides Washington State being they're leaving. As we know, UCLA, USC are coming to Michigan. Coming to the Big Ten, but it's Michigan's conference. And then we have a whole bunch of other ones, like the Big 12 is also going through it. They're losing Texas and Oklahoma this year, and that's pretty harsh, man. You know, I mean, those two are always on top of the league. You know, they're always on top of the standings. But I have to say,
So
though,
that's just every team in that conference being spread out to different conferences, right?
So different teams, they were like those teams just contacted different conferences. I think some of them are going to the ACC. We got a couple going to the Big Ten. I'm pretty sure some are going to the Big 12 too. I know Colorado is actually going to the Big 12 for sure, which is pretty cool to see, especially with Deion Sanders taking on over there. That's an interesting story. But that's for another time. But yeah, so that's just kind of what's happening. Washington State, I think, is still in limbo, which kind of sucks to see. I've always kind of been a little bit of a Washington State fan, just because their offense has always been awesome. You know, that spread Mike Lynch offense was always just so cool to watch back as a kid.
I'm sure they'll land probably within decent territory at
Yeah, I
least.
mean, I could probably see them falling into the Big 12, somewhere in
That's
that.
what I was thinking.
Yeah,
I
Big
know the
12
Big
for
12
sure.
is weaker this
Oh
season,
yeah.
but I think it's a good place for them to at least start.
Oh, I agree, 100%, 100%. And if anything, maybe even the ACC. I know ACC might lose Florida State. They're talking about leaving, and there's a couple other teams out there who are just not really happy with the current contracts. So that could be a big issue too. But I think that would kind of happen after this season, before we actually see anything really develop on that.
I think it's too late into the quote unquote preseason of
Yeah.
NCAA football for anything
Oh
that
yeah.
major to happen.
Especially with the contracts and everything that's going on. Like, I bet they have deadlines that they have to meet, payments they
I'm
have to
sure
make.
probably by like late January, February, we'll figure out more about what's going to happen with those conferences, where the teams of the Pac-12 are going to be distributed
Yep,
to.
yep. It's a shame to see the Pac-12 go, man. Great memories, you know. USC,
It is a
Oregon.
shame.
Yep, you know, it's a damn shame, especially us growing up. You know, I know you're a big Oregon Ducks fan, so it's like I know
Yeah,
that all the memories of you guys just owning that conference with Marcus Mariota and all the
I
fun
know.
guys. Just
They're going to take over another conference.
So hell, you know what? Since we're talking about the teams, why don't we go through the polls? So guys, we're gonna go through the AP polls right now, just kind of what's dropped not too long ago. No surprise, but we're gonna go from 25 to 1. You know, we're gonna do it a little different. We're gonna go from last to first, just to kind of build up that anticipation of number 1 for those who don't already know it. Number 25, we have Iowa coming out of the Big Ten West, which is that's pretty cool to see. Cade McNamara, former Michigan quarterback, and Eric All, former Michigan tight end, are the newest transfers over there. And you know Iowa's defense is going to be scary. Like, I mean, I think last season they barely gave up 17 points. They are always top 10 in the league when it just comes to all defensive efficiency overall. But yeah, I mean, that's going to be pretty cool to see. I think that might be a dark horse for maybe a Big Ten championship down the line. What do you think?
I think they do pretty good. I like the quarterback.
Oh, of course.
I can never say his name, Petraeus or something like that. Had almost 2,000 yards last season.
Yeah, which
You
was
know, he
good to
did pretty
see.
good.
Oh yeah, for sure. But Cade McNamara is actually taking over this year.
He is.
Yes, sir. They've actually named him the starter, so that should be interesting to see. Because he led. I mean, as you know, we led Michigan to a college football playoff, which is and a Big Ten championship win over Ohio State. You know, that man has his accolades. But
Yeah.
let's see what he can do over at Iowa. Number 24, a little more surprising, but they had a good end of the last season. That's going to be Tulane, the Green Wave, baby, the Green Wave of Tulane.
Seeing them in the top 25 is weird
It
for
is
me.
weird, right? Like it kind of gets some taken used to, but I love to see it.
And they are absolutely stacked.
Oh yeah, oh
In
yeah.
my opinion, with what could be for the 2024 NFL draft, they have a lot of good picks in there.
I like that. No, for sure. I can agree with that. And it's crazy to say because it's like they're a lower school, but it's like they have some actual like late round talent, especially on that offensive side.
Their
Their quarterback
quarterback
is beautiful. Their quarterback
off
is
amazing.
I love him. I love him. I think he's a dark horse for sure.
3,000 yards last season.
Yeah, man. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he
I know.
fucking.
Oh yeah. Number 20.
I can't say enough good things about him.
Oh, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Number
He,
23.
he had what 5 interceptions last season
Yeah, he
as
was
a
passing.
whole.
He was passing great. Like he was lights out.
He was doing good.
Mhm.
Would like to see their offensive line do more. He took some pretty big hits last season, but
No, for sure, for sure.
for
Yeah,
still getting 3,000 yards out is
I mean,
mind-boggling to
especially
me.
playing in that conference. I mean, what is it? Do they play in the Sun Belt? I think it is. It's like that conference. Yeah,
I think so.
They play. No, actually, wow, they play in the AAC. I think. Anyway, but that conference is more of a weaker conference. As long as you can get through like your FAU.
It's a weaker conference for sure, but still ending up the top 25 is
Oh, of course.
awesome.
If you can ever run the schedule and you can ever just run the teams up, and you're running up scores, it doesn't matter who you are. This is still that next level of better players, like some of the best high school players going to these teams. Even a Tulane where it's like they're having a culture. Anyway, let's move on. We got Texas A&M Aggies at 23. Jimbo Fisher, man, I think he's on the hot seat this year. He hasn't really done a damn thing at Texas A&M, in all honesty. What do you think on that one?
I worry about Texas A&M for this season.
Yeah,
I know they have a lot of problems going on right now.
Yeah,
Offenses. I think their defense carried them for most of last season.
Oh, for sure, I
You
can
know.
agree with that. I don't know,
Scares.
man.
They're probably. I could see them getting knocked out of the top 25 this season.
I think if they have an 8-win season, Jimbo might be leaving Texas A&M because they've given him many, many years. They gave him this big contract out of Florida State where he won national champion. That it's like it's underperforming, but he has one of the bigger one of the bigger contracts in the whole nation. So it's like,
Yeah.
do they really pay him off? I don't know what his contract status is, but how much closer
I don't
is he
know
to
either.
getting an extension? Because at that extension time, that's when someone's gonna be like, no, I don't want him.
Like even their schedule for this year, looking at
of
it,
course.
it's
I
a
mean-
very weak. And they have Miami. They
then
have
what, week
they have
2, right?
Alabama. Yeah,
Yeah, like that's gonna be interesting. It's at Texas A&M, I believe.
it's at Miami.
It's at Miami this year. Wow, actually,
Yeah.
that might be interesting because I know Miami's on that come up too. Coach Cristobal over there is definitely starting to get that culture in there, and Miami might have a good 8-9 win season this year. And if they can beat Texas A&M this early,
Yeah, we'll talk to Miami when we get there.
yeah. All right, we got Ole Miss at 22, keeping it in the SEC. Ole Miss is always great. Lane Kiffin, big fan of the coach, so I'm always interested to see what he has to do. Number 21, we have the North Carolina Tar Heels, baby, with the Heisman hopeful at quarterback. This is a team that I look out for in the ACC. Of course, you're going to have your Florida States, your Clemsons up there. But honestly, look out for North Carolina because they can probably sneak into that conference championship team and championship game, and you just never know what happens after that.
I think they're pretty good. My favorite thing about the season so far is that North Carolina is going against South Carolina for their first game,
Right off the bat, too. That's weak. Is that week?
establishing neighboring state That's week 1.
That's week 1. I love that.
That's their starting game.
I mean, that's going to say a lot about both teams too, because South Carolina is also, they're not an awful team. They just have to find themselves on the right side of the offense and the defense stepping up. But the offense has been.
I would like to see them move up a little bit.
Yeah, with Spencer.
At least into the top 20, and they're like borderline right there.
Yeah, they're having votes going in right now is what I'm looking at. So we'll see. I mean, hey, a big win right off the bat, especially if you're beating the number 21 team in the country. That'll boost you up.
Yeah.
Number 20, we have the Oklahoma, the Sooners, baby. Boomers,
Sooners. He has one of my favorite quarterbacks in Gabriel.
I agree.
He had an amazing season last season.
Yes, sir.
I would throw him up for Heisman hopefuls.
Oh, absolutely.
In my opinion,
when Gabriel hits his stride too, it's kind of one of those, like, he can have a stupendous year as long as he stays healthy. He had great seasons. I'm pretty sure his first season was one of the best seasons I've ever seen, like, live, for sure.
I would agree.
And of course, it's Oklahoma. They're always going to have a stacked offense. They're always going to have good backs. I think these guys, it's always the Big 12. It's the last send-off year. You think they're not going to go out trying to win that championship just one last time before the SEC move?
I'm guaranteed they'll be up there.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. And then number 19, we have Wisconsin. Luke Fickell coming from Cincinnati, the head coach, going over there, bringing the spread offense. That's going to be fun to watch, but I think they're kind of overrated at 19, especially for his first year establishing a new offense. And, Wisconsin always has a good defense, but their scoring has always been a hit or miss, especially at that quarterback position.
And they definitely have a weird schedule this season. They're not going against like many of the bigger teams as I thought they would.
Yeah, they definitely went one of the weaker sides. Absolutely. I mean, their best game is, of course, just in conference games. Like, let me pull it up real quick while we're on.
I think
Ohio State, of course, is always going to be a hard game.
Yeah.
The Iowa game is going to be a good game. That game decides probably who wins that side of the division. That's usually how it ends.
I think their first 4 games will get a feel for what their season's going to end up looking like.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have anything against Wisconsin. I think they'll do good.
Yeah.
But I still think it's overhyped for them to be in the top 20, at least, where they are.
Yeah, especially like I said, especially just this early in the season. It's like, I just don't know. I don't know if it's really like that giving them so much credit so fast, and it's like, okay, but what did they really prove? So, who we got over there at number 19? Oh,
You got the good old Oregon State Beavers at number 18.
I like that. You can't go wrong with the Beavers.
They just announced their starting QB.
Who are they using?
I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. I'm sorry, but no. Out of respect.
It's Ugalai, I think it is. He was the former quarterback at Clemson, actually. He was the starter and then was taken over by the freshman quarterback that they're using right now. But we'll get into that after we get to Clemson.
I know he is. Especially with them being in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is just stacked with probably the best quarterbacks you can get in college football right now.
Oh, I can agree, honestly. I mean, especially with USC, when we get to that, that's a Heisman repeater. Honestly, Caleb Williamson is just ridiculous. Like, he's one of the better quarterbacks I've seen in a long, long time. But we'll get to that when we get there. But yeah, Oregon State should have a pretty good season, though. Their schedule's pretty favorable. If the quarterback actually just steps up, he can use his legs. The man's a powerful, hard runner too. Great dual threat quarterback. I think they're going to be okay this season. I wouldn't be surprised if they got into the top 15 to end it.
I don't think top 15, but I could see them moving up a slot or two.
Yeah, for sure. Number 17, we have Kansas State. Kansas State's always great to see too. I don't know why. I've always just kind of been a Kansas State fan out of the Big 12. I just like the color scheme, the culture that they have over there. That's always great to see them up there. Number 16, we have TCU. See, now this one surprised me. TCU.
I truthfully believe the only reason TCU is where they are.
Because they lost their.
Don't get me wrong, they had a good season.
I agree.
I think their slot, especially being number 16.
Yep.
I have a different list. I was looking at the other one.
No, you're fine.
I think they're ranked too high. I understand that, especially against Michigan, they had a very dominant
Oh,
game.
I'm sorry. They're 17. Kansas State is 16. That's my fault. I did get them switched up.
Yeah, same difference.
Yeah,
I
but
th-
nonetheless.
but I think the Michigan game is the only reason they got ranked so high, and the only reason they're not higher is because of how much of an ass beating they took in the championship.
Yeah, I can agree to that. And honestly, that Michigan game was more luck than anything. You know, a lot of pick sixes. Don't get me wrong, that defense stepped up, and Michigan definitely overlooked them. But that was a game that I think we all kind of know. But you know, that's neither here nor there. I
To
mean,
me, I can see them getting kicked out of the top 20 this season, especially
yeah.
with the star power I'm seeing in these other
There's other.
lower ranked teams.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If
Again,
it's.
their quarterback, don't get me wrong, he's a good quarterback.
Oh, he's
You know,
gone. He's
he
gone. He
oh,
was. Yeah, yeah.
Duggan's not there anymore?
No, Duggan left last year. He was a senior, man.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I mean, like.
All right, so everything I just said, 100% true. They're probably gonna get kicked out of the top 20.
Yeah, I'm looking at.
I was gonna hold some bards for them, but no, I didn't.
Yeah, I just pulled up their schedule. I mean, they have to face Colorado. That's Coach Prime's first start as a head coach over there. So that's going to be interesting to see. If they lose that game, it's a bad season.
I think Colorado will have a decent season too, but
I
they're not
agree,
in top
but
25.
look,
So
man,
I'm
they
talking
had
about them.
60 new players. They scrapped the whole last year's team and brought in 60 transfers.
Yeah, they did. I saw that earlier.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting to see if they all actually, you know, if they all connect, if they all glue as a team, and see how that works. They do have a favorable next couple of games. You know, they got Nicholas, they got Houston.
Again, I think they'll be fine.
They should be okay, but yeah, then you have your Kansas States, your Texases, and your Oklahomas. I don't know.
And now time for one of my favorite teams ever. Ranked at number 15, we got the Oregon Ducks, baby.
Yes, sir, the Oregon freaking Ducks with Bo Nix coming back at quarterback, which he's a Heisman.
Yes, sir.
He's a Heisman hopeful. And talk about
he is my number one pick for the Heisman this year.
Of course he is, you Oregon homer. They have a pretty favorable schedule too. First 3
Give
games.
me someone else that threw 3,600 yards last season.
Caleb Williamson.
Shut up.
Williams, I'm sorry, Caleb Williams. Yeah, no, I think he's gonna have another great season. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know,
he has one of the highest percentages in completions.
He's a smart player. He's an NFL quarterback.
What is it? 72% complete. Yeah,
that's not bad. It's not bad.
72 complete. He's got a good pair of legs on him.
Yes,
he
sir.
holds he has a strong pocket coordination.
Presence for sure.
Almost
Absolutely.
30 touchdowns last season.
He didn't do too bad, but man, he's older than a son bitch at this point.
He's old for sure, and this is definitely his last season with the Oregon Ducks.
Yeah,
I appreciate all the time that we have with him, and I'm very excited for this season.
Yeah, no, they have a great schedule. They have an FCS tune-up the first week, and then they have Texas Tech, Hawaii.
Even with their running back, with was it Irving? I'm really bad at saying people's names.
It's okay.
But he had over 1,000 rushing yards last season.
100%.
I would like to see them run the ball more.
I think, well, that's just it. They kind of do the more West Coast thing where it's a lot of RPO. So it's a lot. Not only that, they spread. So when you're spreading, you're passing. And then you're just doing draws and stuff. Like, he'll touch the ball 17 times a game. That's Oregon football for you.
I know, but I have high hopes for them this year.
Oh, for sure.
I would like to see them go into the playoffs for the championship. I think they finally deserve it.
If they do it, they got to go through this next team, and that's the number 14 Utah Utes. This is a team that I think could go into the playoffs for sure. They're a dark horse. They're a well-rounded team. They've been that way for the past couple of seasons too. So they've obviously established that culture that they have, and they're starting to get that feel for winning continuously.
I know their first game, I believe, is next Thursday.
Yep, against Florida too. So that's going to be a good right off the bat game.
We're going to talk about Florida before we end this because I've got some beef with that team right now.
Yeah, look, man. What were they, 6-7 last year? And that's just not
garbage. That's what they were. They were garbage last year.
Not acceptable, is what that is. Number 13, Notre Dame. They played this week. They play tomorrow. We'll get to that after we get to the matchups. But they're going against Navy, which is going to be good. Notre Dame is another team. Same thing. I think they can honestly make a good run, especially if they just start the season strong. I just hope they don't do what they usually do, and usually late October, early November, they start losing those unnecessary games.
They are a very strong starting of the season team,
Yeah,
and then they show their true colors probably within their first 4 to 5 games, and then they fall off.
I mean their whole season.
Not they don't fall hard, but you can see the lack that
They'll
happens later in the season.
They always end up losing that 3 games. It's always like they get really really good and then they'll lose the 3. Like, okay, you probably should have won that. You know that they're never blown out like that, but they're just losing those tight games. I'm not a huge Notre Dame fan. You know, being a Michigan fan and being a Miami fan, you just can't like Notre Dame. But they have a solid team. They have to go against Ohio State September 23rd, USC on October 14th, and then at Clemson on November 4th. I mean, that's number 3, 6, and 9 right there. And I mean, given you get 2 of them at home, but going to Death Valley is always hard. Clemson always has a ridiculous atmosphere over there, and they could also have a great season. But we'll talk about them in just a couple spots.
Again, I'd like to see them do better. If they're in the top 10, they would 100% deserve it.
Absolutely.
I'd like to see if they can get up there this season, but again, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's kind of just find out. We're gonna see if they hit their stride. It'd be nice to see them upset one of those 3 teams, though. If they can do 2, I think that's a win this season. If they can do 1, they can still, I think, be happy with what they did. Number 12, we have.
Yep, the only 10 I see. One team that I believe is very loaded with great players this season.
You know what? I 100% agree. I think Tennessee is getting ridiculously underappreciated, especially.
And shout out to their Hall of Fame coach who is successfully recovering after his surgery yesterday.
Hey, is he? Okay, that's what's up. I love hearing that. Yeah, but
Coach Fulmer, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tennessee should be good this year. They have a good offense. They're starting to find their stride offensively. They lost Hendon Hooker, but the backup from Michigan, Mixon is just as good as a player. A great arm. I mean, he has a cannon. That man can rip it, and if he can find that accuracy, man, that's a dangerous team.
Yeah, they have great wide receivers. The running game's not awful. I'd like to see them run more, of course.
I'm kind of with you, actually. I would like to see them kind of run the ball a lot more. They might this season, but, it's Mixon's last year. So damn well they're going to try to get him as much as they can possibly get. Number 11. 100%. Number 11 I'm excited for. It's going to be Quinn Ewers. Hook 'em horns, baby. It's University of Texas. Quinn Ewers, obviously the quarterback, is a Heisman hopeful. Yes, sir. Hook 'em horns, baby. And they're the team to beat. I keep wanting to say every season, but then they disappoint me.
I say that a lot at the beginning of the season. But after last season, I have high hopes that they will 100% be in the top 10 this season.
You think this is the one? Do you think this is finally the season? That they might actually win the Big 12 at least, and then because they go to the SEC.
I don't know if they'll win the Big 12. They'll definitely be up there, though. I know they have some tough games this season. Alabama, I believe, is their second week.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a huge game.
And they're number 4.
Oh, they're yep.
4.
Number 4, yeah, week 2 at Alabama too. That's going to be crazy.
So they're going to have a tough start for sure.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's going to come down to that Oklahoma game. It's either I don't think Kansas State has a great winning culture. I don't think Kansas can really match up talent-wise. Same with TCU. But if Oklahoma always has that culture, always has that winning way, and their defense, I mean, never shows up in the Red River rivalry, but the offenses are always going to put on a show. But I think their defense is just a little bit better to where they can actually hang around and win it.
I think they just need to really work on a defense for sure.
Oh, yes. I agree.
Last year, they showed great improvement. I loved what they did, especially to earn their spot just outside of the top 10. But I have hopes for them. I think they'll probably overtake Washington this season, truthfully.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of, number 10, Washington out of the Pac-12.
Go, baby.
This is a team with what is it? I'm always
Uh
bad at
huh.
names too. Yep, I got this. So Felix, there you got quarterbacks. He's also a Heisman hopeful. He's one of those. If he could stay
Let
healthy,
me tell you, dude. The fact that this dude threw so many Phoenix Junior, yeah,
yeah, I messed it
he
up.
threw so much last season. It blew my mind.
Oh, absolutely. The man has what over 4,500 passing
I think
yards.
he just crossed 4,600.
Yeah, he's. I'm looking right now. He had 46, 41. He had 31 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. But his thing is staying healthy. He can have a Heisman year, hands down, with that team if he stays healthy. But if he
Oh yeah,
goes
one
down
hundred
with another
percent.
knees injury, another knee or another elbow, it's just,
Mm-hmm.
it's like the NFL teams are really
And
going to be.
he's a
He's a
beefy
big.
dude
He's a big
too.
guy. He's a big guy. He's definitely that
I
NFL
believe this
sort
is
of
also
quarterback.
his last year's quarterback.
Yes. Yep. No, he's definitely going to go into the
I would
draft.
like to see them go out as a bang, but again,
I just
it's
yeah.
it's the injuries that I'm worried
And you
about.
know what? I kind of agree with you. I think it's going to be the exact same thing where it's just injuries are just going to catch up, and then
That's
that's
the
just what's
only
going to take
reason
them.
why I think Texas will overtake Washington for that number 10
I can
spot.
agree. I can agree for sure.
And I could see that happening probably within halfway through the season.
Half what shit? We're about. Well, I don't know about that because Texas has to go against Alabama.
I understand they have Alabama. I 100% understand that.
Anyway, let's get to number 9. Number 9, we have Clemson. Shit. What else is there to
Hold on,
say?
I'm not done talking shit.
Oh, you're still doing talk your garbage?
Because Washington has to go up against Oregon
Okay.
in week 6, I believe,
Week 6. I mean, that's not a
which is
pretty
about
well
halfway through
so.
the season.
That's going
And
to be
I
pretty
think
interesting.
I think after that game, it's gonna be like, okay.
I mean, honestly, I think that game decides the Pac-12 in the end. It's either
Hey, I
that.
always give all teams halfway through the season to see, or at least the first 4 or 5 games, be like, okay, I can see how this season is gonna play out.
No, for sure, for sure. I agree with you. Yeah, I like to kind of like. I mean, these preseason rankings mean nothing. In 2 weeks, all this is going to be all mixed up.
Oh, I
Everything,
know.
everything. We could have number one
I'm
Michigan.
talking a lot now, and then when the season actually starts, we're like, oh my god, I was wrong.
I was wrong, or hey, what did I say? I told you. Hey, we could have
Or
Tulane at number one.
I talked too much shit at the start. Now I'm starting to regret it.
All right, number 9, Clemson, Dabby Sweeney, that quarterback over there that they just started. He's just, I mean, the dude's stupid.
I don't have a lot to say about Clemson.
Klubnik is he's that dog. He's got that dog.
Yeah,
And
to me, Clemson is that team that's like you look at their name and like they're going to be in at least the top 10.
yeah, they have that. You want to talk about a culture? That's one of the
Their
best
their
winning coaches.
coaching's amazing.
Oh yeah, Dabby Sweeney is definitely just one of the better coaches in the whole country. That defensive line is always beefy, always great. The defense is always solid. As long as the quarterback actually lives up to the expectation this year, there's no reason that they can't
I
actually
think they
make a
could
run.
hold the ACC pretty well this season.
I kind of agree, but then you have number 8 Florida State with Jordan Travis over at quarterback, and man, they found their identity last season, going 10-3. Jordan Travis had
I will
a
give
game.
Florida State a bunch of credit for how much they've changed their team around.
Oh yeah, especially having those 2 rough seasons, the pandemic year, which sucked for everybody, but they had some solid wins.
And this is the only team, them, and I think they're going up against LSU for their first
First
week,
week,
is
yep.
100% going to decide what their season is going to
I
be like in
agree.
the first game.
100% agree. Because I mean, if they can keep it close against LSU, I think they'll still have a good season. If they get blown out by LSU, I'm taking Clemson to win the
It's
ACC
like,
in a
again,
landslide.
I don't want to say anything about this game, especially since it's the first game that they both have.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm excited to see how that plays out.
Hey, this is going to be fun to see, that's for sure. And then we have number 7, Penn State. Penn State's always a top 10 team. James Franklin has a great culture over there as well. It's going to be
I can see
interesting to see.
James Franco. I don't know why. I was like,
No, the actor, believe it or not. I think it's going to be interesting. Penn State's always battling for that big top prize, but when you have Ohio State and Michigan in the same division as you, same conference as you, same schedule as you, and you can't beat either of them,
I think Penn State will have a great start to their season. I don't believe their schedule has anything crazy for the first six games.
They have West Virginia to start off, which is always going to be interesting, and they go at Illinois, and Illinois is not an awful team either. They're starting to find themselves. They found, they had a pretty solid season last year.
I don't think they're that far out of the top 25.
No, if Illinois does what they did last season, they can get in the top 20 again, top 15. If they win their first 3 games, they're in.
Yeah, I'd have to look at their schedule.
Yeah, but Penn State goes against Iowa on week 4, which is going to be really interesting because, of course, that's going to show like which defense or which offense can go. And then, of course, you got to go at Ohio State this year, and then you go against Michigan at a noon kickoff. And we all know what happens on with Michigan on a noon kickoff. We don't lose those.
And this is my dark horse of the season.
USC?
The number 6 USC Trojans. I am so excited to watch Caleb Williams.
I wouldn't even say dark horse. I mean, this is the kid who could hands down.
For me, this is mine.
Yeah, for sure. Hands down, he can win the Heisman again. If he has anything like he had last season, he's going to be the second player to ever win back-to-back Heismans.
Mm-hmm.
It's just end of story. I mean, they get to start off a real easy schedule. San Jose State, Nevada, Stanford, Arizona State, and at Colorado, which I'm still, we'll see what's up, versus Arizona. Like, their whole first half of the season's easy. I mean, until they really go to Notre Dame, and then they have to go against Utah, then they have to go to Oregon and go against Washington at that end. That last stretch is going to be the biggest push
I
for
think
them.
That's where they shine the most. Not against Oregon, of course. But I think, this is probably one of the teams that I'm most excited to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Especially since Caleb Williams did amazing last year.
Oh, hands down. Well, here's the team that I didn't really think would really make to the top 5, in all honesty. But here's LSU. Here's the Tigers. And you know what? I'm okay with it because I know Daniels at quarterback is great. He's a great dual threat. I mean, his dual threat ability is ridiculous. And, of course, you have a great defense, of course. It's LSU.
And it's exactly what I said about Florida State. The first game is going to be what decides their entire season.
With LSU, it's different, though, because they're on the stack side of the SEC. So you got to go against your Floridas, your Alabamas, your Mississippis, your Texas A&Ms. But no, they could definitely set a good tone if they beat number 8 the season right off the bat. And I'm not even say beaten. I mean beat their ass. That's what they have to do. If they really want to show that they're the new top dogs in the
you
SEC,
have to start strong.
Especially with Georgia, who's leading everything. And they're lucky this year. They don't play Georgia. So that is a big, big win.
That was a surprise for me that they're not going to be playing.
I agree with that too. But they are playing Alabama. So it's one of those okay, I can accept that. As long as they're playing Alabama or Georgia, I'll take it because they're, of course, they're just 2 of the best teams in the country right now.
Towards the end of the season too.
Yeah, it's the same. That's what you were saying. Like if they win that first game, they can have a lot of momentum riding into that Alabama game or into that Ole Miss game. And that can be interesting. Speaking of Alabama, Roll Tide's at number 4.
Number 4.
And we don't know who the quarterback is yet. Or we might, and we just don't know who's. We don't really know what to do.
Is Young's not there anymore?
No, he's with the Panthers now.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Is watching a team like this who have been good for what seems like forever.
Yeah, I mean the dynasty of dynasties.
It's like you can't really even worry that they might have a bad season.
I agree.
Their coaching's phenomenal. I'm not the biggest fan of Nick Saban, but you cannot deny the man's work.
Asshole.
I know, but being where he is, you just can't overlook that.
I agree, though. No, 100%. I mean, he always has Alabama in the top 3. I mean, last season.
Again, I know they're at number 4 right now, but they still had a great season.
Oh yeah. And, I mean, they had the schedule to prove it, too. I mean, week 2 against Texas, week 4 against Mississippi, week 6 against Texas A&M. Like, they play their tough strengths right off the bat almost. And then they have Tennessee and LSU back-to-back, but they have them at home. Like, they of course, they went out. I mean, that just shows Alabama's Alabama. And Alabama's defense, offensive line, and every single position, to man, is always good. So, I mean, We're going to kind of see, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Alabama wins this championship this year, especially if their quarterback that they're entering in there is going to really like take over and lead that team. They'll be fine.
Going over to the Big Ten East.
All right.
Number, what, 4? 3?
3, trash. We have a piece of trash at number 3, or otherwise known as Ohio State. As much trash as I would like to talk about them, great team.
Yes, we're not here to talk shit.
Yeah, no,
we're here to.
It's a great team.
Talk
There it is.
Statistics.
Yeah, no, they're a great team. Great, well-rounded. Ryan Day is a phenomenal coach. But their biggest issue is, we all know what the biggest issue is. Who wins against Michigan? It's Michigan, Ohio State every year. They have to go to Notre Dame this year, which that's going to be.
And they're also, I believe, at Michigan this year as well.
Yeah, so I mean, they got to go to the Big House, go to Notre Dame, and I'm looking right here. They also have to go against Wisconsin at Wisconsin, and if Wisconsin starts clicking, that's a big game. That's a team who could be feeling themselves about, if Wisconsin's 15 about that time, just looking for that big win, they can be the ones to upset Ohio State. And speaking of beating Ohio State, we got the Michigan Wolverines. What can I say about the Wolverines?
I don't think there's anything that needs to be said.
J.J. McCarthy.
They worked all the way back up to number 2.
Which
I do understand that Harbaugh is suspended for his 3 games, but the coaching staff, I believe,
I think they'll be fine
hold
against
their own.
Eastern Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green State. I mean, their first 9 games, honestly, are pretty much wins. The first 3 obviously are just those will be the big ones, and then they're going against Rutgers. Nebraska is going to be interesting. They have a new coach over there, so I'm going to be Matt Rule. We're going to kind of see what they do, but I just don't think this is their season. Indiana likes to give us a game every season for whatever reason.
Indiana is one of those teams where I never see them in like the top 25 often.
But they'll always.
But they're still not a bad team, and they put up some very great games.
Yeah, I agree. Then of course at Michigan State this year, always a great game. Past couple seasons hasn't been that crazy, but hey, little brother's little brother, and they'll always do what they can. But that at Penn State is going to be the biggest thing.
Yep.
Like that's going to be a really good tone setter because they gotta beat Penn State. I mean, if they don't beat Penn State, it's an issue. And then of course number 1,
big old number 1, Georgia Bulldogs. Is there really anything that needs to be said?
Well-rounded team. They have a new quarterback, which is something to watch. But I mean, this is a dynasty, man. I mean, Kirby Smart has that team just rolling.
I could see them staying at number 1. I would not be surprised. I understand Michigan's number 2. I would not be surprised if they just run through the season again.
Oh, I agree. I mean,
I'm excited to watch the new quarterback. I'm excited to see where they go with the team. I mean, would I be surprised if they win it all again? Nah, not in the slightest. Nah. They looked at TCU and went,
"Nah,
this is nothing."
Yeah, they steamrolled them. I mean,
the first quarter, that game was done.
I mean, they did it all season though. Like they were just beating teams all season, and when your hardest team is against, they're versus Mississippi State, where they have them at home, and then you go at Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in Florida like that. Auburn is just not there. I just don't really see any other competition.
The only competition that they had last season was Ohio State.
Yeah.
And they won by, I believe, 1.
Hey, a win's a win. Win's a win.
But other than that, no one really gave any other competition that was like, oh my god, they almost lost that.
Not at all.
Besides Missouri, but that just wasn't a great game overall.
That game was just one of those, like, what's going on right now?
But yeah.
I don't know, man. That's the rankings. I'm just going to go through the Heisman hopefuls real quick for everybody. Number 1, we have Caleb Williams out of USC. Number 2, we have Jaden Daniels out of LSU. Quinn Ewers out of Texas is 3. Very quarterback heavy, I've noticed, by the way. Top 10 are all quarterbacks. You have Jordan Travis at 4 out of FSU. Cade Klubnik out of Clemson. Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington. Again, that man's a dog as long as he can stay healthy. Drake May out of North Carolina. That's what we were talking about earlier. That man can carry that team. I think they can carry him to 10 wins, hands down.
Yeah, I think they'll have a great season.
Yeah.
At least I'd like them to have a great season.
I agree. It'd be nice if they could stay in the top 4 of that conference, especially because it's a top heavy conference for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Noah's favorite,
especially with the teams being divided since the Pac-12's leaving.
Yeah, Pac-12, they're done next year. I mean, they're down to 4 teams right now. I think it is after this contracted season. So yeah, it's all done. Noah's favorite, Bo Nix, is at number 8. JJ McCarthy is at number 9, and then 10 would be Sam Hartman out of Notre Dame. Outside Heisman contenders for me, at least. I have Blake Corum or Donovan Edwards. I'm sorry.
I like Donovan Edwards. I think he'll have.
Blake Corum had a ridiculous season last year, and if he didn't, get hurt near the end, that man wins that Heisman Trophy, hands down. Yeah. Same with Donovan Edwards. I think as a number quote unquote 2 back, he can put up 1,000-yard season, and he's the catcher of the both. Like that man is he can get in that backfield, and we can see what happens.
I think they'll have great seasons.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's just that favorable schedule really is going to help them pad their stats for sure.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. So the key week 0 matchups that I like to see. We got Navy at Notre Dame. That is going to be tomorrow, Saturday at 2:30. What do you think, Noah? You thinking anything crazy?
Not really.
No.
They're both decent teams. I think Notre Dame will probably end up taking this game away.
Yeah, I think first.
But I think it'll be nice.
I think first half is going to be a little close just because of that triple option that Navy runs. Notre Dame's going to pull away in that second half, though, especially because it's at Notre Dame.
They're definitely a big second half team as well.
Oh, yeah. Number 2.
Those halftime prep talks, man, they be getting these people through these games.
They hitting, man. They hitting.
I need those kind of pep talks. I don't know how they be doing that.
Number 2, we have Hawaii at Vanderbilt. That's going to be an interesting game. We're going to see how Vandy is. SEC matchup. Just to kind of see what team is.
I think it's going to be one of those games where it's like, I think Vandy might do it this year. And then it's just, I don't think it's going to happen.
Vandy's not going to do a damn thing, but maybe win 6 games. Vandy's not that school. They're not that.
I don't like wishing bad on teams. I always wish that they'd be like, maybe at least have a positive record, but especially with the way Vandy goes, I don't think it's going to happen.
They're bottom feeding school.
I'm going Hawaii for sure.
Yeah, I like that. And then number 3, I have San Jose and USC. That's going to be interesting. Caleb Williams' first game. I think he's going to blow them out for sure. So that's going to be interesting. Probably 30-plus points.
I'm going to blow your behind-the-scenes cover really quick.
I did not put USC at number 3.
So I don't do football a lot, and I have to go by this layout that he writes me. He just wrote San Jose State, and it's on the 26.
Look, I forgot to put USC. All right.
I don't know what that. I can't even comment. I don't know who the team is.
Shut up. But yeah, no, USC is definitely going to blow them out. It's going to be an interesting game. Of course, just watching one of the top 10 teams in the country go at it is always fun to see. My potential upset of this week, Hawaii over Vandy. I think Hawaii, it's Vandy, man. It'd be cool to see Hawaii kind of get back into that 8-9 win season thing. I'm biased. I just kind of enjoy that their culture, not even their culture. I just love their uniforms. I just kind of love that it's Hawaii,
Especially since everything Hawaii has gone through in the past couple months. I think they deserve to at least have some good things, and that's kicking ass in football.
I like that. Big comeback season. What do you have, Noah?
I have one of my favorite teams of FIU.
Love it. Florida International, baby.
Yes, sir. I think they'll have. Yeah, I think they'll have a good start to their season.
I hope so. It'd be nice to see them again. Kind of be like FAU, have their 7-win seasons and winning records, go bowling, have a nice little, hey, good for you guys.
Yeah, they're never really intense games, but for what they are, they're still.
Yeah.
I like watching the talent for sure.
I was there when FIU beat Miami at that baseball game. Okay? And I remember that Danny damn near cried the whole time.
You know, that's his problem. Not our fault. You didn't pick a good team.
Real quick.
Did you see them in the top 25? Because I didn't.
I didn't either. All right. Real quick just a little look at the NFL. Obviously, we're in preseason, so I'm not really going to go too crazy into it. But Lions at Kansas City on the 7th. I think that's going to be a good game. Jared Goff. I'm, of course, a big Lions fan. Jared Goff, I hope is going to really pull that team together. MCDC, man. That coach right there, baby. He's that guy. Like, yeah. Dan Campbell is that guy. He's got something rocking with the Lions, and I'm excited to see what happens. But, of course, you got Patrick Mahomes. You got Travis Kelce, you got, it's like you got the whole Kansas City Super Bowl winning team.
You have a lot of great talent in the NFL for sure, especially with the draft and everyone who came over.
Oh yeah,
starting.
These players are just getting better.
But when it comes to the Lions, their last season, I think they showed a lot of improvement.
They did something. That's the most important thing to me is they
I don't want to say they pulled something out of their ass, but that's exactly what happened, especially halfway through that season.
They found their pride and they pulled that shit out of their ass is what happened.
So I'd like to see another positive season for the Lions.
I agree. It's about time that fan base just finally gets a playoff win, and enough with this.
They need something, bro.
We need anything.
they need something.
But anyway, guys, this has been the first installment of the Mia-Mich podcast. We appreciate you guys coming through and just talking to us. Next week, we're going to have Danny back on here. Noah probably back on here too. And we're just going to talk some more college football. We're going to go over the scores.
If I feel like it. We'll see what happens.
We're going to go over the scores, and then we're just going to go over key matchups and all that fun stuff again. Until then, go Blue.